A good day to our Viva preparation training session series, session 4. This recording is aimed at those that could not attend today's live discussion. In the training session series, we are working through the 8 tasks of our advanced training course on the Viva preparation, getting ready for the Viva. And in this 4th session, we focused on reflecting on the weeks that passed, which was focused on the research methodology. And then we shifted the focus of the discussion towards the data and findings. Session activities included to get clarity, means to look in the questions that are not entirely clear to you and to discuss why and what needs to be clarified, as well as testing answers. You have the chance of getting feedback on your considered responses to a particular Viva question, and then discuss within the group how well the response will answer the question. And finally, as a group activity, we will look in which of the questions appear to be most challenging and why. Now, but for the start, perhaps a word about communication and why practicing matters. There's a sender-receiver communication issue, as we just discussed at our last webinar on Saturday on qualitative data analysis. And using the foresight models shows very well what can go wrong once communicating a message in between sender and receiver. There might be 4 areas: the factual information, the appeal, the relationship, or the self-evaluation, where the message can go wrong. And how this can look like is shown in this example, where 2 people are eating a home-cooked meal together. The one who didn't cook says, "There's something green in the soup." The sender message here is at the factual level, "There's something green." At the self-revealing level, "I don't know what it is." At the relationship level, "You should know what it is." And at the appeal level, "Tell me what it is." The receiver, however, understands the messages slightly differently. At the factual level, the understanding is still there's something green. So far, so good. At the self-revealing layer, you do not know what the green item is, and that makes you feel uncomfortable. At the relationship layer, you think my cooking is questionable, and the appeal layer finally says, "I should only cook what you know in the future." And the other answers, if you don't like the taste, you can cook it yourself. So we see in this simple example how communication can go wrong and why this matters, and what it has to do with the Viva is because it shows how the communication can go wrong, the potential that also this can happen in the Viva. So working out your responses in written and practice how you communicate them within a discussion is crucial. And this is what we are going through each of the sessions, and also afterwards through the forums of the course, where you can ask for feedback in written. Now, at the first part of today's session, we focused on the weeks that passed, getting clarity and testing answers to all of the questions from the methodology part that were put forward, followed by week 4 data and findings, where we again had a set of questions pre-prepared. And now, what do all of those questions attempt to explore? Could be a valid question. They attempt to put your data and findings into a context and perspective, attempting to see which of the different levels of analysis you went over. Have you analyzed the data in itself? Means, are the data consistent in itself? Against the literature, means, what is the literature saying about those data? Against the research question, which is a sort of, is it a question or answer game? Because perhaps the questions were just not rightly formulated and the data is telling something that wasn't asked. So this needs to be worked out. Against the research methods, how did the methods impact the data and what did need to be structured? Against the problem, how is the data relating to the problem? And again, would the problem have any impact on the structure? Against related studies, what are those related studies? The related studies are always important because they can provide you with boundaries and guidance, not only once you worked towards putting the first draft of your thesis together, but also at this point in view, once getting clarity into your argument, you're very well advised to work over related studies. Then against the way the data are structured and presented. So this is a sort of conjunction, research question, research methods, the problem and related studies will all provide some input on how the data is structured. Against the conclusions and implications, which in hindsight then also will provide some input on the structure of the data. So this is all interrelated. And as better as you have thought that through, and as more you have went through the different level of analysis, as better will you be prepared to answer the questions in the Viva, and in particular the ones for the data and finding, but also the other fields that are covered through the Viva. Now we will come to the session activities of getting clarity and testing answers, working towards the put forward questions, and followed by a group activity on which are the questions that appear to be of most challenge and why. And as today's group discussion has shown, there's a transversal element with regards to fear and how, for example, to present problems, drawbacks, faulties in one's own works, things that didn't work out as they should be. This came up today within the context of data and findings, but as our discussion has shown, it was actually not limited to that. Likewise, the other challenges that we today discussed, many of them are of a transversal nature, like, for example, the role of communication as initially introduced with the foresight model, and how to train that and which are the aspects to watch out and not to do. Like, for example, complying to the 2 minutes rule as much as possible and breaking down overlongly answers into small chunks, so to always keep the feedback loops alive and allow for interaction, clarification, and for the Viva to run smoothly. So this is a recording that is summarizing today's interactive training session, and you're very much welcome if you have any follow-up questions to use the course forum for that, or alternatively, just prepare for the 5th session next week. With this, I wish you a nice week. And as said, to those that want further feedback, please use the submit your task assignment function in the course environment. Then you will get feedback on the most challenging questions and draft responses that you might have. Have a nice week again, and hope to see you next Wednesday.